week. Hopefully you have read the chapter and you know what it is about. The first thing we should cover is the levels of meaning. Can someone tell me in brief what levels of meaning they are talking about here? If you have read the chapter, this will be normally.
Professor?
Yes, Sliman?
We have 3 levels of meaning. The first level is called expression meaning, and the second is utterance meaning, and the third is communicative meaning.
Yes, thank you very much. Thank you very much, Sliman. That's basically it. So as Sliman said, we have expression meaning, utterance meaning, and communicative meaning. We will see each one independently, and keep this in mind because you will probably have a question about this in the final exam. So keep it in mind, try to understand it, try to see what we are doing here, so things will be easy on the day of the exam. Beginning will be with expression meaning. I think the sentence that we will be discussing is this one. I don't need your bicycle. It looks like a very simple sentence. So to start with, I would like to ask you to try to explain the meanings in this sentence in general. How would you usually explain this sentence to someone?
Professor?
Yes, go ahead, Ismail.
If I want to explain this sentence to someone, I would say that I is referred to the speaker. That says that he doesn't require the bicycle of the addressee.
Yes, that's basically it. So the speaker does not require the bicycle of the addressee. Yes, that's basically it. So let's see how do we move to get there. So we have the first thing is content words. I think we have seen content words last year. So we have two types of words. We have content words and we have
functional words.
Yes, functional words, yes. So the two, we have how many content words here?
Professor?
Yes, go ahead.
We have two content words, the verb need and bicycle, because they are the words that contains the main information about the sentence.
Yes, the words that contain the main information, that's one thing. And the words that can mean something independently. So we'll make sure that we are on the same page. A bicycle means something independently, and need means something independently. But when we say don't, it negates something, so it cannot really function independently. So that's the difference between content words and grammatical words or functional words. So we have only need and bicycle, and we will see other words. So we have the main verb and the main noun in this context. Need. So it is a full verb, not an auxiliary. And it means, I had to ask you before, so because defining the word need is a bit challenging, so it means requires something that is necessary to us. So that will be the definition of need. I think you will have to look at this definition and you will have to grasp the way they defined it. Because it's sometimes, or most of the time, it's difficult to define simple words, define words that are normally easy to understand. Let's move to the next step, bicycle. Can someone define a bicycle?
Professor?
Yes, go ahead. Yes.
A mean of
Latifa?
a mean of transportation.
A mean of transportation. Yes, that's correct. But we still need
Professor?
a lot. It can be a train, it can be a plane, it can be anything. So we need to specify more. Yes.
Professor,
Yes, Latifa.
it's the object of the verb need.
No, it's not looking for its grammatical functions. Just defining it, explaining the word. So how would you explain it so that the person who reads your definition or your explanation understands that we are talking about a bicycle specifically? That's what you should do. So when you are given a sentence, any type of sentence, you look for content words and explain them in a way that shows that that refers directly to the verb or noun we are talking about. Yes, someone else?
Professor?
Well, yes, Smail. I can see Smail here. And
Uh,
Suleiman. So Smail.
A bicycle is a vehicle with two wheels and has no motor.
Yes, that's a good definition. So two wheels and no motor. So that's basically a bicycle. I think if we try to, we cannot really eliminate more. So it leads directly to bicycle. So some sort of vehicle with two wheels and without a motor. Yes. Thank you, Ismail. So they are different from thousands of other words that can replace them. What does that mean? Remember that we are talking about content words as opposed to function words or grammatical words. So when we talk about content words, they can be replaced by thousands of other words. What does that mean? We can say, I don't need your bicycle, I don't need your car, I don't need your book, I don't need anything. And it's an endless list. So they can be replaced by, say, an open number of alternatives. It will never stop. And for the verb need too, it can be replaced by any number of verbs. I can't ride your bicycle. I don't want your bicycle. I can drive bicycles. So it goes on. Even if we change, so if we keep changing bicycle and the word need, we can get an unlimited number of sentences. So that's one of the characteristics of content words. We can just add any words and it will still normally make correct sentences. We will see the opposite with function words or with grammatical words, and we will see that there is only a very limited number of words that can replace them. So keep this in mind. This is the essence of what will be the win. And if you have a sentence to analyze on the day of the exam, keep this in mind. Take note of this and try to keep it in mind. Description must be specific enough to distinguish it from all other words with similar meanings and general enough to cover all cases in which the word can be used. Can someone give me a word, any word, and then the others, or he himself, or she, tries to define it. So find a word, a random word, and then try to give us enough description for that word. Yes, anyone? Let's say a chair. How would you define a chair?
Can I answer?
Yes, Nadia, go ahead. Try. Give it a try.
It's an object made by wood, and we can sit on it.
Yes, you have given us most of the necessary elements for a chair. But instead of saying just an object, we can maybe say a piece of furniture, so that people know what we are talking about. It's not necessarily made of wood. I think we can have plastic chairs. Yet you are very close. So can someone else try to give us different definition?
So,
Yes.
a piece of furniture used for the objective of sitting on it.
Yes, but you need to say more. So a piece, you can be talking about a sofa, for instance. How do we know you are not talking about a sofa? So say more.
Professor?
Yes.
Professor?
Yes.
Can we say
Idris, go ahead.
a piece of furniture that we with four stands or with four stands and we can sit on it.
Can you please repeat? A piece of furniture with what?
With four stands.
Yes, we can say with four stands. Yes.
Professor?
On which we can sit. Yes, that's okay. That's a good definition. Idris, yes, go ahead, Asiya.
We could say is like a set for one person that has a back and usually like 4 legs.
Yes. So a seat for one person. So we are not talking about a sofa or a coach. A seat for one person with a back and 4 legs. Yes. Yes, I think it goes for very close for a chair. Yes, Liman. Yes, Liman, go
And
ahead.
also we don't have just one type of chairs. We have desk chair, barber chair, kitchen chair. So we have to keep that in mind too.
Yes, we'll keep that in mind. But what you should keep in mind, if we have the word chair, we make it general enough to contain all these chairs that you have talked about. So I think if we consider the definition of Asiya, it includes all these elements, but it doesn't include other elements like a sofa or a stool or other things. So it should have a back, because if you know what a stool is, that's kind of chair that doesn't have a back. That's a stool. So she has included all the elements that will make it general enough and specific enough at the same time. So to exclude everything outside and to include all what can be considered chairs. Okay. So please keep this in mind. It is really very necessary in this course. Now we'll talk about function words. The first one. So items from a limited choice of expressions, as we have said. Before, it's not as unlimited as content words. So we have articles, pronouns, prepositions, conjunctions. These are limited lists. When we say a verb, you can say anything, and it is still a verb. So you know that the number of verbs cannot really be limited. But when you talk about pronouns, there is a very short list of pronouns that we have, and a very short list of articles, prepositions. So it is a limited choice of expressions. Okay, so that's the definition of what difference between what we have said before and what we have now. I. Someone has defined I before, but I will need you to define it again. How do you think it should be defined in the field of semantics?
Professor?
Yes, go ahead, Ismail.
I refers to the speaker.
Yes, it refers to the speaker as simple as that normally. So it's just one speaker and it refers to him or her. So personal pronoun, limited alternatives, and it is in the nominative case. This is its grammatical function. And for the one who says it, it is used for the one who says it. When people use I, they refer to themselves. Okay, in a sense. Keep this definition, for instance, as it is in mind, because you may face a sentence that contains I in it. So keep that in mind. If we say you, how would you define you?
A personal pronoun.
Yes.
Professor?
Also
Yes, it is a personal pronoun.
Yes.
Yes,
It refers.
For the person.
It refers to the other person.
Professor?
Yes, so it refers to the addressee. Okay, yes.
It refers to the person or people being spoken or written to.
Yes, the person we are talking to or speaking to. Yes, that's correct. If we say we, how would you define, how would you describe we?
Professor,
Yes, go ahead, Khadija.
it refers to a group of people who are the speakers. It is not singular, it's the plural, so two people or more.
Yes. We can say this. Yes, it is a correct definition. Yes. Or a group of people to which the speaker belongs, for instance, can also be another
Excuse
definition.
me, Professor.
Yes, go ahead, Nadia.
I think the last definition is incorrect because when we speak a lot, group of speaker, we can use the pronoun they, but we must specify that I am with the speakers.
I think what we said is the group of speaker to which the speaker belongs. So to which the one who the speaker of the sentence we are talking about belongs.
Professor, we can.
So we need to add that. So it is a group of people to which the speaker belongs, and we understand that he's talking about himself and others, or herself and other people. I am just trying to say, I'm trying to give you lots of examples so that you will understand that it shouldn't be an exact there isn't only one way of saying the same thing. You can say it in different ways. The most important thing is to keep the essence of the meaning. Okay, try to be again general enough and specific enough. Okay, let's move to the next item. So he will be defined as the producer of the sentence. So the producer of the sentence is the referent of I. Okay, so this I refers to the producer of the sentence. I think we have seen reference before, and reference. I don't think I need to explain it. But I think I will ask you about it. What is a reference?
Professor,
Yes, Liman.
reference is any linguistic expression that is used to refer to something outside of language, and the referent is the thing or the person which is outside the linguistic expression.
Yes. So that the expression refers to. That's very correct. Thank you very much, Liman. I would like to ask you to raise your hands in the future so that I can see those who haven't participated before, to give them a chance. Okay. It indicates that the item referred to is linked to the addressee. Okay, I think. Yes, it comes at once. Okay, so it indicates that the item referred to is linked to the addressee. That's how they define your. Okay. Do you think you can think of an alternative, a different definition?
You mean the same one, which is yours?
Yes. What do you, Sia? Can you please repeat?
You mean like define your?
Yes, define your. Yes.
We could say it's like belonging or relating to the person or a group of people being spoken.
No, can you please repeat again?
Yes, I said we could define your as belonging or relating to the person or a group of people being spoken or written to.
Yes, that's a very good alternative. That's a very good one. Yes, thank you very much. Okay, so let's move to the next element. Don't. How would you define don't?
So
Yes, yes, here.
It's a tool of negation to prevent someone from doing something or saying something.
Yes. So it is. Can you please repeat?
It's a device of negation to prevent someone from doing or saying something.
Yes. So it is a device of negation that prevents someone from doing or saying something. Yes, yes, I think it captures the essence of the meaning of the expression don't. Yes, that's very correct. Yes. Okay, let's see. Let's see the definition we have. Someone raised their hand. Okay, yes. I'm sorry, I didn't see you, Sliman. Idris, do you want to say something?
Yes, sir.
Yes,
So,
go ahead.
as a definition, we can say that is a combination of the auxiliary verb do plus the negation particle not.
Can you please repeat?
Can we say is a combination of the auxiliary verb do plus the negation particle not?
Yes, here if you are describing its grammatical function, maybe yes. But when we talk about its meaning, so what it does, how it functions for the meaning of the sentence, we have a main verb, which is in this case need, and it negates that main verb, yes. And it contributes the present tense, so it refers to the time of the utterance. Because you should keep all of this in mind too. So we try to talk about the one who produces the expression, the one who is addressed by the expression, and what belongs to whom in a sentence that we have. Then tense is also very important. Tense is normally shown in verbs, but in this case, it's not in the verb itself, it is in the auxiliary, so it contributes the present tense in this case. It is don't, not didn't. So in this case, we know that we are in the present tense. But the present, for instance, at the time of speaking, not the present for us, okay? Because as you know, it was spoken in the past. But when we describe it, we talk about the time of speaking for the speakers themselves. They did not say, for instance, it did not. If they did that, so before the time of speaking, or before, let's say the sentence was produced. But in this, it is at the time of speaking for the speakers. So now we are going to combine all these elements. How would you summarize the sentence? What does this sentence? Try to remember all the elements that we have mentioned, starting from I and moving on until bicycle. Try to combine them, all these definitions, and give the meaning of the whole expression. Please raise your hands if you want to say something. Yes, Atia, go ahead.
I guess it's the same. I don't need your bicycle.
Can you please repeat? I don't think I got what you said.
Yes, I said I guess it's the same because it makes like means I don't need your bicycle. Just all the elements that we said.
Yes. So these are all the elements. I don't need your bicycle. So can you, based on all the small definitions that we have given before, reach a general definition of the whole sentence? You remember what we said I means? And you remember what we said that don't needs, don't means, and keep going. Yes, here. Yes, here, go ahead.
Me or yes.
The sentence "I don't need your bicycle" I refers to an individual, not a group. Don't means that the person is speaking in the present tense and using negation. Need me usually means I need something, but since we put the negation before it, it means the complete opposite. Your referring to the property of the other person. Bicycle is the object.
Yes, thank you very much, Yasir. Thank you. So you have somehow summarized all the different meanings that we have used before. Yes, thank you very much. Now, can you combine them in one meaning? if you get what I mean. So try to add these meanings together and bring a new sentence that explains what we have said before. Okay, I think I will need to show you an example. Yes, Safa?
Can we say that the speaker tells the addressee that he don't need to use his bicycle, or he refuse to use his bicycle, something like this?
Yes, it is something like this. It's very close to the final answer, yes. But keep in mind the fact that we didn't say bicycle. We have also explained bicycle, so it means something.
Professor,
Yes, Ismail?
we can say that the speaker does not require the vehicle that has no wheel, that has two wheels and without a motor of the addressee.
Yes, that belongs to the addressee. Yes, that will be a very valid definition. Yes, thank you very much for this definition. So it's I think basically similar to what we see here. So for the speaker, the two-wheeled vehicle of the addressee is not necessary or very important at the time when this is being uttered. So if you look at this definition, so for the speaker here we have taken that part of I, but the two-wheeled vehicle of the addressee is not necessary, so don't need your bicycle. And keep in mind the fact that it is mentioned it is in the present tense, so at the time when this is being uttered. Okay.
Professor?
Yes, go ahead.
Professor, I'm going to take you back. I'm going to take you back to the previous
slide.
Previous slides.
Yes.
Professor, if you define don't on its functional referring to its functional meaning, like auxiliary verb, is it correct or incorrect?
No, as you will see, we will have to do all these elements, each one independently. But defining it grammatically alone is not enough. You will have to say to add how it functions at the semantic level. That's very
okay, Professor. Thank you so much.
Thank you. It's a good thing to ask questions now to remove confusion now, because as soon as we move on, it will be too late. Okay, so if we are on the same page, we can move on to the next item, the next element. So we are talking about the meaning of the expression. So a sentence as such, as well as the words in it, leaves open who the speaker and the addressee are, and what a particular time is referred to, and which bicycle. Okay, so we have defined it. Semantically speaking, we have done what should be done. That normally is, I would say, at this level, this is enough. But we don't really know, and we don't really care who is the speaker and what kind of bicycle, what particular time. So when they say now, for instance, we don't know what that now refers to. Was this spoken a year ago, 2 years ago? So it remains like that. Okay. So the main goal is to capture the potential of expressions. This potential, this word potential, is very important. So can someone explain it? Can someone explain this expression? The main goal is to capture the potential of expressions.
So,
yes, thank you.
Meaning that the goal isn't to capture the potential of each individual expression, but the sum total of all the expressions combined.
Yes, in a sense, yes, it can go in this way. We can say that, yes. The idea is that for us, it's not necessary to get which bicycle, because as you know, there are different types of bicycles. But from our definition, when we say it is a two-wheeled vehicle without a motor, for instance, it refers to bicycles. Then you can specify. When we say your, you can specify. I can be talking to Yasir, I can be talking to Sliman, I can be talking to Zainab, for instance. So that your refers to anyone. We don't specify, but we capture the essence. So your refers to something that belongs to the addressee. we captured this. We captured the fact that I refers to the speaker. So when I say I, it is the speaker. We can specify later and say that the speaker is this person or that person. Okay. So the essence is to capture all the potential of the expressions, everything that it can refer to, without being too broad and without being too specific. That's what we do at this level. Then we will see other things and other elements that we will have to cover. So the expression meaning can be, let's say, abbreviated in this way. So meaning E, or the meaning of the expression. Okay. So such questions can only be settled if the sentence is actually used in concrete occasions. So to know who is who and which specific bicycle and the details, we need concrete occasion. We need context, and we will see the context, and we will see the sentence again. So we'll keep talking. We'll keep using the same sentence, but this time we will not see it semantically. We'll see it pragmatically. So from the perspective of pragmatics, when given the context, what does everything refer to? I will give you a minute to read this, to try to grasp the main elements. Then we will talk about it. So look at the whole context. Okay, I think you have read the context. Now let's see the main question. Okay, can you just explain it given the context now before moving on? So specify the details. What does I refer to? What does you refer to? Which specific tense? Which specific time?
Professor,
Yes, Mail.
here,
Mail, then Khadija. Yes.
yes, here
Mhm.
I refers to Mary. Don't, that it means that Mary does not need the vehicle of John. Your refers to the owner of the bicycle, who is John. The bicycle is the vehicle that has two wheels without a motor of John. And
Yes.
don't means the negation, and in the present tense of the sentence in which it has been uttered in 1
Yes.
August 1996.
Yes, thank you very much. That's basically it. Thank you very much. Khadija, do you want to say it differently?
Mary does not need the two-wheeled vehicle of John because she has got her car in time in
Yes.
1 August 1996.
Yes, that's also correct. Thank you very much. So we'll see it now differently. So meaning you means it refers to utterance meaning. Okay. Here we have fixed references. What does fixed references mean?
Professor?
Yes.
This means that the things we refer to are fixed. They are not changing. They are not dynamic, maybe.
Yes, in a sense, because before we said we capture only the potential of each reference. Now the references are fixed. We know what each reference refers to specifically. Okay, that's correct. So I, as we have said, refers to Mary. Your establishes a relation to her neighbor John. Your bicycle in general. The bicycle Mary asked John to lend her 2 days before the current utterance. So so everything is fixed now in this context. Time, the afternoon of 1st of August 1996. And truth. Truth, as we have said, when we have an expression like this one, so whether it is true or not true, and if the sentence is uttered in this context, then it is true. So that will be the question. Does she need a bicycle? In this context, yes, it is true that she does not really need the bicycle. So it is true if it is mentioned in this context. Okay. And now we will see another scenario and the same expression. So what's the main change that happened here? Maybe the confusing part.
Professor?
Yes, Khadija?
Here, the pronoun I is no longer refers to Mary. It refers to Maggie, the daughter of John. It's the same time and place, and that vehicle is.
Khadija, I will stop you for a moment. Just check again. Does it refer to Maggie?
No, I think no.
So who is the one who rejects the exchange?
John.
Titus. Who rejects?
Titus.
Not
Yes, it is
Titus.
Titus, yes. Yes, go ahead, Khadija. Finish your definition. So it is Titus. Yes.
The vehicle is in the card of Maggie, so it refers to your bicycle. It's the bicycle in the card of Maggie.
Yes. So it's not a real bicycle.
Yeah.
It's just a picture of a bicycle. So it's something different now. Okay. So let's see how to deal with this. So I and your and tense are fixed. Here the bicycle, not to a bicycle, but a card carrying the picture of a bicycle. So that's different. As we have said, I is Titus. Your refers to or establishes that connection between Maggie and her card, and the tense is fixed, so it is still in the present, and it is the time that we have mentioned before, the 1st of August 1996. So these are fixed. Then the bicycle, it's not really a bicycle, it's just a picture in this case. So the question is, should we change the expression meaning of the word bicycle? So for instance, do you think next time you will have to define a bicycle, you will have to change it to say that it refers to a type of pictures? What do you think? We are not talking about this stage, we are talking about the first stage of analysis. If you are given the same sentence, will you define it in the same way? That's the question.
No, Professor.
Why?
Professor, may I answer?
Professor?
Khadija has raised her hand. Could you please raise your hands? Yes, go ahead.
It's the same. Personally, I'm going to define it in the same way, because the bicycle is the same vehicle, but here, even if it's in a card, but it's the same. It's the picture of the same thing.
Yes. Okay. Yes. So that's Khadija's answer. Let's hear other answers before we get to the answer of the writer. Does anyone disagree? Okay, so I think I will have to agree with you too. Asiya, go ahead.
Yes, Professor, I disagree because at that time we were having like a real one, a real bicycle, but now we just have a picture of it. I mean, we could, for example, describe the card and not the bicycle. It's just a picture on the card, so it's different.
No, but Asiya, we are talking about a situation. You are talking about a situation in which we get the context. But in general, if you just see the sentence in isolation, if you just see, I don't need your bicycle, you won't really guess that it is a card. So we will deal with it as it is.
Yes, of course. But if I see the context, it's something else.
Yes, if you say the context is something else, yes, of course. But in this case, when semantically speaking, we wouldn't really pay attention to the context. We just concentrate on the expressions that we have. What we have here is some kind of shift in meaning. So we keep it as it is, and as they say here, expression meaning may be subject to certain kinds of meaning shifts. So it's still the same thing. As I have said, if you see a dog, you will describe a dog as it is. Then you will find a context in which a dog, for instance, a fictional story in which a dog is someone, something that can talk, that can fly, that can do things that dogs normally don't do. So in this case, as we have said before, if you remember, I said you should remember that we should try to capture the potential of the expressions, not the real reference. So when you describe the bicycle as it is, you have already captured the potential of the meaning. Then, if that meaning is subject to some kind of shift, it's okay. But what you will add here is that it is a picture of, and you keep your own original description, which is a picture of a vehicle with two wheels and no motor, no engine. Yes.
So what you're saying, sir, is that in semantics, each word has two meanings. Its default meaning, which we always refer to first. Then there's the meaning that comes depending on the context in which it's being used.
So I will partially agree with you, yes. So
Okay.
the part that it captures the default meaning, yes, that's what we deal with in semantics. If we move to the context, we have more pragmatics. That's something else. So in semantics, we just capture that default meaning, that first main meaning, nothing else. Here we are talking about pragmatics. We put it in its context. We are talking about the utterance meaning. So when we talk about the proposition or the sentence or the expression, we are talking about semantics. When we move to the utterance, then we are talking about pragmatics. That's why we are doing things differently. Okay?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Now the context of the utterance in general. So the sum of circumstances that carry reference and truth, occasion, context, and scenario. So that's what we have seen before. The speaker or producer of the utterance. So if you are asked to provide the context of the utterance, this is what you should provide. Okay? If you are given a sentence, any type of sentence, you can define it semantically. So the first question, define this sentence semantically. Let's say this is the question. You do that, then maybe you will be asked again to define it pragmatically. So then you will have to include the context. Then if you are asked another question, which is provide the context of the utterance, these are the main elements you should mention. The speaker, who is the speaker, you should try to define it. The addressee, the time at which the utterance is produced or received. Here, produced and received can be the same time, can be two different times. And you should keep that in mind if it is, let's say, I think we'll see the exception later, but if it is sent via email or message, it can be sent this day and received after a couple of days. So time is relative. The place where the utterance is produced and or received, the same thing. If I send you a mail, for instance, a letter, it can be sent from one place and received another place, yet it contains the same utterances. The facts given when the utterance is produced and received. So all the facts that we have mentioned about, that we have mentioned before, and that we have talked about. For instance, talking about the bicycle, talking about the word need, talking about the context and what happened, and why we don't need it, or do we actually need it. Okay. In certain cases, that's what we have talked about just now. Communication by mail, the time, place, and facts may differ for the production and the reception of the utterance. So it might be produced at a certain time and received at a completely different time. Okay, are we clear on this? Keep these elements in mind. Okay, they are very necessary too. So the utterance meaning is the meaning that results from using an expression in a given context of utterance. Okay, that's the utterance meaning. Now, the question will be maybe said differently. So provide the semantic meaning or the expression meaning, which is the meaning that we have reached first, then provide the utterance meaning, which is the meaning that includes all these elements which are predefined in the context. Okay, so even if you are given a context, now let's say it in this way. If you are given a context in which the bicycle is just a picture in a card, in the question define or get or try to find the expressive meaning of this sentence, first you will deal with the bicycle as a general bicycle. Then when it comes to the utterance meaning, then you can show those shifts in meaning. Are we clear? I hope this is not confusing. So even if you are in the context, don't refer to the context when you are talking about the expressive meaning. You only refer to the context when you are asked to provide the utterance meaning. Okay.
Professor, it's gonna be easy if
Yes.
you don't, for example, define it semantically or pragmatically. We can, for example, know if we should define the context or not.
Yes, we can say semantically and pragmatically, and we can say expressive meaning and utterance meaning. So they are somehow synonyms. So semantically means expression meaning, and pragmatically means utterance meaning. Okay, I see you?
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, welcome. So just keep these two terms in mind. And now we have the communicative meaning, which is another level of meaning. In scenario 1, you remember the first scenario as we have seen. John may infer that. So when we talk about inference, we talk about, can someone explain the word infer?
Professor?
Yes, Iman?
It is something that listener got from your expression, even if you don't utter something necessarily refer to something, but he will infer that indirectly.
Yes. So the guesses the person will make will understand, even if you have really said them. So what Mary said in the first scenario is that I don't need your bicycle. So that's something, and this is what she may infer from that expression in that context. Mary is still planning to make the trip. She should have asked him to lend her his but she would have asked him to lend her bicycle if she couldn't have used her car. Her daughter is back with the car. Mary is not going to lend the car again. Mary will take the car for the trip. She considers herself able to drive. So these are all things that John may infer from that context, knowing Mary and knowing those facts in the scenario, in the given scenario. Okay. These inferences can be considered to be communicated because Mary can rely upon John's understanding all this. So that's the idea. That's why we call it communicative meaning. So it's not really something that was said, but it is communicated in a way or another. Does it make sense? Can someone explain it in his own words? Explain what happened here. Let me give you a simpler example. If I say I will call you, you will understand that I have a phone, or at least I have access to a phone, even if it is a public phone. So I say something, but you understand other things. It means that I can speak. So I cannot use the phone normally if I cannot speak. So you infer that too. So all the things that you understand without me saying them. That's the communicative meaning. So that's how we communicate. If you remember, the first question in the lesson was how do we understand each other? How do we communicate? So that's how we do it. We don't really say everything that needs to be said, but normally we say specific sentences. We produce specific utterances, and yet we rely on the listener to understand the rest. Okay?
Professor,
Yes, go ahead, Asia.
we could say that like we form an opinion. Like we guess that something is true because we have information already. So we just like
Yeah.
an opinion. Yeah.
Yes, somehow we reach conclusions, we form opinions based on what we have heard, based on the information we have received. So communicative meaning is when we produce an utterance, we choose words that communicate our intention. So in a sense, we don't really communicate the whole intention, but people will understand that. When I say are on the same page, I'm not talking about the page itself. I'm talking about whether or not you understand what I'm saying. I think you understand more than what I say, in a sense. When we are the addressee, we do not care about the meanings of words, phrases, clauses, or even inferences as much as we care about understanding the speaker's intention and maybe his needs. This means that sometimes, as just like the example I have just used, the words themselves or the sentences or clauses are not really important as long as you understand what I want to say. I'm trying to think of an example, a situation in which we say different things and people will understand normally. For instance, when you say you meet someone, I think, and you say, "How are you doing?" And he will say, "I'm fine." That's normally an expression. It doesn't really mean that you are actually asking about how he is doing or how she is doing. So normally, you just use that expression because that's what people say in a specific context. You are not really asking. And it goes on. So that's how communication happens. We understand the intention. We are just being polite. That's what you will get. He's just being polite by saying, "How are you doing?" Doesn't really mean that. So the utterance in scenario 1 is, in general, when you think about it, it is withdrawal of a formal request. You have already made a request, and now you are withdrawing that request. That's what you have communicated. The exact details don't really matter. What matters is this for communication. Withdrawal of a formal request. In scenario 2, what happened? If you remember. So the first scenario is that the one with Mary and John.
It was a
The second one is
refusal
the one with Mary. Yes, refusal of, yes?
of an offer or a
Yes,
question.
refusal of, yes, refusal of a request, maybe or an offer. Let's see. Refusal of an offer, as you have said, yes. So she made an offer. She wanted to give him her picture of a bicycle, and he refused that. So that's what we communicate. That's the intention, general intention of communication. Okay.
Professor,
Now we move. Yes, go ahead, Sliman.
can I try to make it in another words in order to see if I understand it? Because I found it a bit confusing once I was reading the book.
Yes, go ahead.
Communicative meaning is about the underlying knowledge or the background knowledge we have about language in accordance to the social and cultural community that we live in.
Yes, that's perfectly accurate definition. Yes. So it depends on what we know about the culture. So from our knowledge of our culture, our community, our society, we understand that we communicate in a certain way to express certain intentions. Let's say in an appropriate way. So to say that you refuse an offer, you just say, "I don't need your bicycle." As a child, I think he didn't really need to be so polite about it. but for a grown-up, I think he would express the same intention, but using different words. But you are correct. That's normally what it means.
Thank you, Professor.
Thank you. So now let's move to the speech act theory. We'll talk about it in brief before moving to the next part. So we start with the locutionary act, which is the act of using a certain expression, usually a sentence, with a certain utterance meaning in a given context. So the act of speaking itself, the act of producing the utterance, is called the locutionary act. So that's what we say. These are the words that we use. In scenario 2, for instance, Titus performs the locutionary act of saying that sentence with the utterance meaning it has in the given context. Keep this in mind. What we have seen is the same sentence. It's the same sentence, but three different utterances. The first one, let's say it was in an unknown context. The second one was in scenario 1, and the third one was in scenario 2. So it's the same thing, but when said in a given context, with a specific utterance meaning, so the speakers are different and the context is different, this changes what it will mean. Okay, so it's always the same expression, the same locutionary act, but the context will have effects on the second level, which is locutionary act. In act, statement, a question, a request, promise, refusal, confirmation, warning. So for Jean Searle, for speech act theory, whenever you speak, you are acting in a certain way, a speech act. So by your speech, by talking, you are either asking a question, making a request, making a promise, refusing something, confirming something, warning against something. So that's communication in general. We communicate to express these intentions. For him, that's what communication is all about. Okay? So we use words that can mean almost nothing in isolation. They will just mean the sum of their meanings, in semantically speaking. But in pragmatics, all the words we use, all the expressions we use, are to express certain intentions or speech acts, like these ones. Okay, are we clear? If you have a question, we'll be waiting for your questions. In scenario 2, Titus performs a refusal of Maggie's offer. So given everything, given the scenario, given all we know, the idea is that she made an offer and he refused the offer. That's it. That's all the communication that happened there. So the communicative meaning of communication, a communicative meaning is outside the range of semantics. It is the concern of pragmatics, except for expression that communicates speech acts directly. When I say thank you, so that's the speech act directly. This, we will deal with this in semantics. And when I say I'm sorry too, these are also speech acts that will be handled from the perspective of semantics. But in general, if I say, for instance, I really appreciate what you have done for me, that's a thank you, but it's not. So in pragmatics, you will understand that it is thank you, but in semantics, maybe it doesn't. So we'll have to explain each word independently, except as I have said for these expressions, and we'll see why and we'll see how. Yes, Umayma. Yes.
I just have one question.
Yes.
My question is, how should we deal with meaning when the context is too ambiguous?
What do you mean? Can you think of an example? Too ambiguous.
Sometimes we cannot even got the main idea of what a certain text is trying to tell us, and we got in this area when we are very confused and we don't know the real meaning of a specific text, and we could not got like the essence or the cracks of that text.
I think normally what we will be studying here is strategies to explain sentences or language in general at different levels. So it depends on what you need to reach. If it is about semantics, you will just express and try to understand what's the potential of each expression, and that will be it. But if you are dealing with the context of semantics, normally the context should either be specific enough to give you all the details. Sometimes it's not. Sometimes, for instance, in this case, they have given you the date, and they have stated that it was in the afternoon, so you know specifically when it happened. Sometimes they don't really provide that, so you just say that it is still unknown, it is still unspecified. So you can only specify what is specified, and what is not specified, you will just ignore it or mention the fact that it is not really specified, and that will be it. Okay.
Okay, thank you, Professor.
Yes, thank you. I think someone else, Arnor.
Yes, Professor. Yesterday we had an example with Professor Smiko. It was he killed the man with the knife, and we didn't know if the man had a knife or the knife was used for the kill. So in this instance, how are we gonna describe the meaning of the sentence?
As we have said, if we are talking about semantics specifically, normally you just go for explaining killed and man and knife, which are the content words, and then you will talk about function words, each one independently. But when it comes to pragmatics, you will deal with it in a different way. With the idea of ambiguity, I think we will see. I don't know if it is in the next chapter or the following one, but we will see the idea of ambiguity and how it is seen from the perspective of semantics and pragmatics. We'll come back to this idea of ambiguity. So we have talked about 3 levels of meaning. Can someone summarize that? Can someone tell me what we have done so far?
Professor?
Yes?
We have seen the meanings of individual elements within the expression. This is the first level.
Yes.
In the second level, we've seen the meaning of the expression as a whole.
Yes.
And then we've moved from semantics to pragmatics and see the context in which this expression was added.
Yes, okay, in a sense, yes. In other words, in the first part, the individual words and the whole expression's meaning was all part of one level, which is
Professor?
the expressive meaning. Yes, Liman?
We have 3 levels of meaning. The first was mainly the concern of semantics. Sorry. And in this level, we are required to define words in isolation, means semantically speaking. And this level is a step forward towards the next level, which is utterance meaning. Here we have to pay attention to the context where the sentence is uttered. We should define references and truth. Then this step is also a step forward to the next step, which is communicative level, in which the context and the background knowledge plays a very important role in defining the whole meaning, or maybe the implication of the meaning.
I know the intention of the speaker. Yes, that's very correct. Sliman, thank you very much. So that's basically all what we have seen today. Thank you. So we have seen the expression meaning, or the meaning of a simple or complex expression taken in isolation. Utterance meaning, the meaning of an expression when used in a given context of utterance, fixed reference, and truth value for declarative sentences. Because if it is an interrogative question, for an interrogative sentence, if it is a question, you cannot really say if it is true or false, in a sense. Communicative meaning, the meaning of an utterance as a communicative act in a given social setting. So that's the third element that we have seen. So whether you are apologizing, agreeing, or whatever you are doing. Now we'll move to sentence meaning and compositionality. Does anyone have an idea about what we are going to cover here? We have seen this last year, I think, haven't we? Term
So,
compositionality. Yes.
is it about how composition affects the meaning of the sentence? How is it that when we place a comma or a period within a sentence, it drastically changes the meaning of that sentence?
Okay, it's a very good guess, yes, here, but it's not really the accurate one. Compositionality simply means that the meaning of a sentence is normally composed of its parts. Yes, Sliman?
Yeah, compositionality is about combining because what we have is meaning of words in our mind, but we compose these words in order to create complete sentences, and we made different meaning of sentences in accordance to the meaning of words we have in mind.
Yes, so that's basically it. So we use the meanings of the words that we have in mind, as you have said, and combine them together, and we see how the sentence normally makes general sense. Yes, thank you, Sliman. Thank you, Yasir. So it's about the move from words to sentences, from different entities to, or individual entities or elements to the general meaning of a sentence. We have lexical meanings of words stored in our minds. It's related to content words, in a sense. While the meanings of most words are stored in our minds, the meanings of most sentences are not. And that's the problem that we have. So the meanings of words, as Liman has just said, we know the meanings of words, but we don't really have in our minds the meanings of all sentences. So what we have in our minds is the meaning of words, and we use that to guess the meanings of sentences or to get the meanings of sentences. The process of moving from the meanings of simple expressions or words, which we know, to the meanings of complex expressions with sentences is called composition. So we are composing meaning, we are building meaning. Okay, I hope this makes sense. Okay, let's move to the next. So most sentences have compositional meaning. We say most sentences. Why? So not all sentences. If you follow the logic, so normally sentences are made up of words, and normally words, we bring them together, we gather that meaning together, and we get the meaning of a sentence. But is there an exception? Is there a sentence that in which, if we combine the meanings of words, we'll get the meaning of a sentence? We had an example last week. I think someone has used the example. I think the most famous example. It's raining cats and... Yes?
It's a medium. Raining cats
It's a medium, yes. So with idiomatic expressions, for instance, we say it's raining cats and dogs. But if we try to really combine the meanings of individual elements, it wouldn't really give us the meaning that it is raining heavily. So normally, there are exceptions. So first, we'll start with the grammatical meaning. This time, I think we have talked about lexical meanings, now grammatical meaning, in a sense. Let's see this expression. The dog ate the yellow socks. Which ones are content words? Lexical words. Okay, let's move step by step and let's see how it goes. We have dog, which is singular. We have ate, which is simple past, indicative mood. We have yellow, which is positive. Positive as opposed to what? When we talk about adjectives, they can be comparative, they can be superlatives, and they can be positive. So positive is, let's say, the basic form in which we store the word in our brains. So in our minds, we keep adjectives as they are, yellow, and then we can add the comparative or the superlative. But we keep this form in our minds. Socks, plural, and normally we don't really keep the plural in our minds. So these are content words that we have in this expression. In our lexicon, only one meaning of a word is stored. So the singular meanings of nouns, the tenseless meaning of verbs, positive meaning of adjectives, and okay, so these are the three main function words or lexical words. Do you understand what we are saying here?
Yes.
Yes, Professor.
Okay, so we rely on grammatical rules to derive the meaning of words in their given form. Yes, so to move from the singular form of nouns to add the plural form, for instance, from cat to cats, from dog to dogs, from mouse to mice, we rely on some certain grammatical rules. But what we have normally in our lexicon is the singular form of nouns, the tenseless meaning of verb, for instance, eat, not ate, and the positive meaning of adjectives, so the simpler form of adjectives without anything added to it. Except when the grammatical change is imposed by the syntactic structure of the sentence. So here we have an exception. When we say, for instance, I am agree with Anne, and Anne is angry with me, here there is some sort of confusion. That I, for instance, that becomes me, that's imposed by the sentence itself, the structure of the sentence itself. It's not some grammatical rule that is specific for that word, it's the sentence itself. And the same for am and is. I am and am is, that's imposed by, let's say, the structure of the sentence and the grammatical position of the word. Okay. So, as I've said, we deal with the grammatical meaning. So then we will deal with the syntactic structure and combination rules. So we see the sentence has a syntactic structure. Same sentence, the dog ate the yellow socks. The dog is a noun phrase. So it has a definite article and it has a noun, which is a subject. We'll go for the simplest form. Normally, I'm sure you are studying semantics. I think it will be very easy for you to give me the syntactic structure of simple sentences like this one. Okay, so you will probably be asked to do something like this in the future. So the dog will be a noun phrase. Ate is the verb and predicate. And what do we have left?
Complement.
The noun phrase.
So we have the dog. Yes, we have another
Noun
noun phrase. Yes, another noun phrase, which is the yellow socks. Okay, it contains definite article, adjectives, and adjective and noun in its simplest form. So the sentence goes like this. I don't think you need to see this. I think you know the basics. So we have normally, in a sense, we have two noun phrases. So this is the sentence in its simplest form. We have said. We'll we'll move to the principle of compositionality again. The syntactic rules of a language allow the formation of expressions from basic expressions that have lexical meaning. Okay, so it's basically the same idea. We compose them in the form of first the form of words, then words belong to phrases. We need to see the structure of phrases that we have there, and if we have clauses, we'll have to cover that too. In this case, it is just one independent clause, so we're talking just about one entity. So phrases and the sentence directly. So how do they combine? We will see this idea of that's what I've seen before of arguments. Have you seen? You know the word arguments in syntax?
Yes, Professor.
Yes. Okay. So we'll come back to this idea of arguments later, and we'll see how the arguments are combined in each syntactic structure. The mechanism of syntactic composition draws on the lexical meanings of the basic expressions, the grammatical forms of the basic expressions, the syntactic structure of the complex expression. So first, we get lexical meaning of basic expressions. We have seen that before. The grammatical forms. What does each grammatical element? How does each grammatical element function in a sentence? Then, how do they combine into phrases? That's basically it. So the syntactic structure. It is a bottom-up process. So we start from the most basic element and we go up towards phrases. It does not hold for the level of utterance meaning. So this will not be important when we are trying to explain the sentence in its context. We try to get what each element refers to in reality. And normally this is how it goes. We can start from grammar, the basic expressions. So we choose a grammatical form. I am reading the one to the left. Basic expressions, particular form, then combine expressions and reach a complex expression, which is normally a sentence. Or we can go the other way, compositional meaning of a complex expression, then combine meanings. Okay, it's again, it's from grammatical perspective, from a semantic perspective. So lexical meanings, compositional meanings, and composition meaning of a complex expression. Does this make sense to you? I think this is the last thing. You are strangely quiet this time.
So,
What? What?
I'm sorry, but I don't understand exactly how.
Or what?
The basic expressions in a particular form and the complex expression. Exactly the difference.
Okay, I think. Is it just yes here or everyone else? Okay, I think we'll have to go a few steps back to see what we have been doing there. I think I have moved a bit. Yes. So we talked about meanings before, and that's what we did before. We don't really need to talk about that again. So we just try to get the meanings of different elements. Then we move to another thing, which is grammatical meaning. We try to get the grammatical meaning of the expressions. So these are the words that we have here, we have for us. We say how they function grammatically, in a sense. So dog is singular, 8 is in the past, yellow is positive in this case, and socks is plural. We just describe the grammatical function. So in our lexicon, as we have said before, we have them in their basic form. But in this case, in the sentence that we have, we describe how they occur, how they interact grammatically speaking. Okay. So we rely on grammatical rules to derive the meaning of words in their given form, except when, as we have said, the grammatical change is imposed by the syntactic structure. So at this level, we will not really explain what happens here. So we explain just the elements that we see above, like the dog is singular, for instance. Is it singular? Is it plural? Is it? So it depends. And 8, for instance, it is in the simple past, in the indicative mood. So what we have done here is describing the grammatical function, the grammatical meaning of each of them. If you think about it from another perspective, we are talking about if we have one dog and then if we have 5 dogs, that changes the meaning. So we talk about that. Eating, for instance, eating in the present and eating in the past changes the meaning. Then yellow, if it is positive, if it is comparative, if it is superlative, it also changes the meaning. And the same thing for socks. If it is just one sock, that's one thing. If it is two or more, it changes the meaning too. So we see the grammatical contribution, or the contribution of grammar to the meaning of the whole sentence. Okay? So we see this level, then we move to another level and we see how they combine together. So how they form different phrases. Does it make sense now? So we
Yes,
get the
sir.
meaning first, then we get the grammatical meaning, for instance, or how grammar affects meaning, and then we get how phrases are combined, which somehow also affects meaning. How those small meanings are combined together to form larger or complex meanings. So normally, as I have said, we will see this later. We will talk about what they call theta roles in syntax and semantic relations here. We know that it is the dog that performs this verb to affect this element or this noun phrase or this other argument, which is the yellow socks. So one produce the action, the other one receive the action. That's how you would normally see it. And so as we have the syntax of language allow the formation of basic. Okay. The mechanism of semantic composition draws on the lexical meanings. We have seen that before. Grammatical forms of basic expressions. So singular, plural, superlative, and so on. And finally, how they are combined syntactically. And we have just seen how this happens. So the basic expression, grammatical form, and then we combine them. Semantically speaking, lexical meanings, and then we add grammatical meanings, so compositional meaning of the basic expressions in their given form. So how, so the difference between a dog in singular and dog in plural, and so on, the present and the past, and so on. Then the whole expression from a syntactic perspective. Okay? Does it make sense now? Yes, yes.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Thank you. So anyone else? Any other question before we move? Because that's the end of the class. So if you don't have other questions, we'll just stop here.
Professor, if you don't mind, could you give us an example and then you applied all of these rules, like principles?
Yes, we have seen the sentence that we have. This sentence. So we said that the dog ate the yellow socks. We will have to define each word. I think there is a problem with the battery. As I've said, I think you will have to. I will try to talk a bit fast this time. So we'll have the meaning. What is a dog? How would you define a dog? How would you define yellow? And how would you define socks? We'll see. We'll see how to define adjectives like this one later. So let's say the dog ate the socks. We know what socks are. We'll give each element its meaning. Then we will add an expression meaning, like the one we have seen before. So we get the general expression. Let's say an animal with 4 legs, and let's say that can be used for protection, and that barks with a fur too. Let's say has performed the act of ingesting. Let's say human wear. How should we describe socks? It's a difficult one. So anyway, I will just move quickly because, as I said, the battery is going to fail me. Trying to move fast, I've got nothing to go. So as I have said, we will get the whole expression meaning, then we will add the grammatical meaning. So we'll add the fact that dog is just singular. We say that ate is in the past, so it is before the time of speaking in the past. And we will say that socks is in the plural, so it is not just one element that is eaten, it's more than one. Then we move to the syntactic structure and we say that it has 2 arguments, it has 2 phrases here, and it has one main verb, which is ate or devouring or something like that. Next week we'll get maybe an example. We'll see a question, and we'll see how to deal with these elements, maybe with a different example. Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much. We'll come back to it next week. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Professor.
Thank you, Professor.
Yeah, thank you.
Professor, have a nice day.
Yeah,
Thank you,
have a nice day.
Professor.
Thank you, sir.
Professor,
Yes.
we didn't talk about the schedule of Ramadan.
Yes, I forgot about that. What do you have today? Do you have other classes today?
Yes,
No.
Professor. Professor Smirko's class.
When?
Unfortunately,
Yeah.
in the same time with you.
How is that possible? No, normally it shouldn't be. I think he had a class with you yesterday, no?
Yes, with this one, today with another group, but not now. It's after you. When you finish, he will come.
So from 12, for instance, to 2?
Yeah.
No, it's same time. It's now. They're working now in syntax.
No, the other groups, but from groups 5 and 6, he has seen them, seen you yesterday. Groups 5 and 6.
Yes.
Yes. Because I've talked about this, so he has seen you yesterday, 5 and 6. So the other groups, I think he has another class with other groups from 12 to 2. No, or nothing.
Nothing. I think nothing.
You think nothing. So normally, can we start at 2 today, the same day, but at 2 instead of 10?
Yes, it's great. Because we want to follow with you with your session and
Yes.
our session we want to follow your session and also Smirko's session in the same day if it's
Yes,
possible. Yeah.
Yes. So if we move it to 2, so 14.
Yeah.
It will be good for everyone. Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Thank you very much, sir.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you very much. See you at next week at 2.
See you, Professor.
Yeah. See you next week.
Thank you.
Have a good day.
Yes.
Have a good day.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.